fellow board members, Ms. Morales, Mr. Garza, district staff, general public joining us. Time is 6:41 PM on this, the 13th day of August, 2024, and I call this board workshop of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. May I have the board members that are present announce their name for the record?
Gilbert Aguilar, present.
Michelle Molina, present.
Elisa Flores Oliveros, present.
Javier Montemayor, present.
Thank you. And myself, Ramiro Valdez III, present. Let the record show that this workshop has been duly called and that notice of this workshop has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. We have, we're at the Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge. Do we have any public comments signed up?
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. No particular order.
So we have Mr. Jorge Mendoza on the budget.
Good evening, Mr. Mendoza. Time is 6:42. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, good morning, good morning, good evening, and congratulations to the new superintendent. Great choice. I just have a question, going over the budget, and it was a very good presentation that Mr. Flores and Mr. Arias did, very thorough. I just had a question on the debt service, and I saw a number of 35 million. I just wanted to, maybe for the next meeting, they could put a detail of what that entails, those 35 million. What are we gonna spend it on? Is it on the present projects, is it in future projects, or what? Just to get an idea of where the money's gonna be spent, and I don't know exactly, it's not just says 35 million. And I'm sure you're borrowing those 35 million, because that's the way I read it, I saw it, so. That's just my only question on that, on the budget. And a good, you guys did a great job, because you all have a good fund balance, so hopefully I just don't wanna be, I wanna know what it is, so it won't be misspent on different items, because sometimes I just see items, we're gonna buy 20 acres or 30 acres. No, we should be part of our budget. Okay, this is what we plan to do during the year. That's normal procedure on the normal business, so we just can't come out and say, we're gonna spend, buy 15 acres, 20 acres on La Bota or wherever. And if we are, make it part of the budget so people can be aware of it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza.
Mr. Velez,
Sir.
just for the record, we certainly can present a detailed report on that information.
Yes, sir.
But just for the public's knowledge, the INS or the debt service is voter-approved bonds that have already been issued.
Right.
And that is the amount of money that we have to pay out to be able to secure. So, and the tax rate can only be the amount needed to be able to pay that debt.
Right, okay,
That's going to be a slide in the presentation later.
Can you address that?
okay. And we'll just reference this comment so we can make sure it's being answered.
Next, Mrs. Leti Juarez on budget items.
Ms. Juarez, good evening again. Time is 6:45.
Good evening again, sir. Good evening. For the record, my name is Leticia Juarez. According to the district's administrators, by proposing to increase bus driver pay to 15 and custodian pay to 12, this will put UISD in a very competitive marketplace. So let me get this straight. The bus drivers and custodians' pay is going up by $2. They will be expected to have a much heavier workload because the administrators are reducing the number of these positions, which are currently unfilled, by 50% or 55%. Not because the positions are not needed, but because UISD cannot fill them. And the board is happy with this action. One of the board members asked if this reduction would affect delivery services. The district's response was, a lot of the vacancies we have had for several years, and we have been able to maintain services by supplementing and bringing in part-time help, and we do not feel that this will impact services. For your information, supplementing part-time help has cost the district $725,490.82 as of June 2024. The amount is 3 times what was paid out last year for the same services. My experience working as a teacher were that delivery services have been affected for a long time, pre-COVID and more so post-COVID. Schools are hurting because they lack enough custodians and bus drivers. Have any of you asked the administrators to supply you with a report showing how many full-time custodian positions are needed at each school, how many positions are unfilled, and how many employees are on contract. On the matter of reclassifying CNI academic coordinators as elementary assistant principals, this action was done because most elementary schools were struggling with only one assistant principal. The question I have is why has it taken so long to remedy this situation? I've always been critical of central office personnel because they take way too long to solve problems. They wait until issues become too big and cannot be any more avoided before action is taken. In my opinion, they receive these high salaries because they are responsible for solving our school's problems effectively and efficiently on a timely basis. As always, we can agree to disagree. The district states that the level of support to teachers will not dwindle. I'm not sure that's correct. What will happen at the elementary level will be the academic coordinators will take on the role of assistant principals and will not have any time to perform any academic coordinating duties with consistency or fidelity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments.
Next, we have Rosalinda Boteo on substitutes, I believe.
Ms. Oteo, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody here present today. For the record, I'm Rosalinda Boteo. I'm a retiree teacher assistant with the district. I have enjoyed thoroughly all these years, 34 and a half, working with the children. And I'm here, I've been hearing all this talk about budget and money and everything, and it's good. Everything here being said is very good. But I'm here because I love serving the children, and economy, inflation, everything that has happened, COVID, pre-COVID, after COVID, has caused, impact on everybody, and as well as substitutes. And I'm just asking that you value us a little bit more and worthy us a little bit more, because without us going in to cover classrooms and teachers, and at the last minute things happen, emergencies, we're there, we cover. We're there for the children, we're there for everybody. I'm just imploring that you give us the chance that we can do our better jobs better with a little bit more of an incentive based on the way the economy is today. And I know tough times are tough, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to go to work. I'm going to work, and my focus is the children, serving them daily, and going to cover. And I'm just asking for a little bit more monetary support, so we can, get more, That's all I got to say, and you all have a good night. I hear a lot about budget, so thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Oteo.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, we have Agustin Ballesteros.
Good afternoon.
Hello, sir.
First of all, I want to thank the board for your service to our children. I have been was a teacher for 48 years. And all this time, I have approached the board 4 times. The main, star here was the 2013 bond committee. And now I'm here to ask for help as a sub-assistant coach. They look up to you. And I'm here to tell you that there are, in May, out of 21 teaching days, I was called 19 and a half. Not because I want to be there, but because my teacher friends that are still there ask me, Coach, por favor, because I have a medical appointment, ba 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 ba. So I'm asking you, please consider this.
No, my name is Coach Contreras, retired coach from United also. I served the district for more than, I was a Martin in 76 to 84, and 84 is when they built the new high school. That's when we came in as coaches. And I retired at 2011, so I served the district quite some time. I was a head baseball coach for 16 years. I coached football also. And the main person, which I'm not gonna name the person, when I decided to retire, he asked me, Coach, what are you gonna do? And I told him, well, I'm gonna try to make my quarters for Social Security. I said, maybe get a job at HEB, be a host or something. And he asked me, Coach, when you retire, Social Security will be deducted. We need your help. So come back to sub for us. So I didn't leave the place. He got me on the computer and I started applying for it. And he asked me, Coach, this thing about sexual harassment and all the videos, you probably know more than we do. I said, you just gotta go and see them, but you're more qualified than anybody else, you know, that's in the field. And my question is this, we sign a continuing contract every year. We go to vector trainings, we go to Know Before, all the stuff that teachers do. And then again, every year we have to go through this continuing contract. And when the district decided to give a bonus to teachers, I understand, I was a teacher, but we kind of felt like we were left behind. You know, there's nothing for subs. I mean, there was no incentive, you know, $5, $10, whatever. There was nothing, you know, everybody else got a bonus and stuff like that. And we're asking for your help, okay? And I don't know if you guys know, you probably do, I don't want to insult your intelligence.
I'll let you finish your thoughts, sir.
But the word teach, okay? The T stands for trust. The E stands for excellence. The A stands for accomplishment. The C stands for creative. And the H is for heart. We take it to heart. I mean, we've been in this business for a long time. And when we go sub, you know, the job's got to be done. And every year they tell us, when we sign the continuing contract and go to those orientations, they tell us, guys, you're a very important part of UISD. Without you guys, we cannot function. You're very much a part of it. Because when somebody's out, especially people that have experience, you guys take over. You're the teacher, you're not a sub anymore. You take over. You're the one that's got to be in command in that classroom. And also, the other thing is, you are a teacher now. You're not a sub, okay? And yes, you know, we are in a certain criteria as far as payment is concerned, or payment, whatever that we get. We need your help, really. We're not talking about only coaches, teachers, we're talking about substitutes that are sub only. Some of them don't have a degree, okay? But they're willing to come out and help the district. And we felt like we were left behind on this situation as far as bonuses and stuff like that. And if for the district to work like everybody else, we're very much a part of the teaching criteria. Because if you ever go to teach a class as a sub, because we have experience, but as a sub that goes in there, they have called us, Coach, can you help me out, please? This kid, I'm having a problem with this kid. We go out there and help them out. You know, that's why we're called more often than anybody else. And they know that, you know, we're part of the discipline problem. So we always help them out. And I always tell them, I said, you gonna sub? Yes, sir. You know, anything you need, I'm in room so-and-so. So we go beyond, you know, the aspect of just teaching and coaching, whatever it is. So we really need your help, okay?
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your
One
comments.
more thing, sir. Doing your best means never stop trying. Don't find a fault, find a remedy. Okay? We need your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One last word. Please help the team. Keep us united. Help the sub-team, por favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Valentin Reese on the superintendent's salary.
Thank you, Valentin Vale Ruiz, veteran taxpayer. As a taxpayer, I'm upset that UISD hired someone that had no work experience as a superintendent. That's why no one worthy applies, because they know you only hire the local mafia. Not a single finalist, as far as I know, had experience in budgeting a COLA for all employees. All they know is to hand out pay cuts and give themselves and cabinet members an excessive salary. It seems to me that your first handpick is a little selfish, asking for so much money when he has no prior work experience. Who really does the work? The custodians, the teacher aides, the bus drivers, the food service people. They're the ones that make you shine, sir. They're the ones that put up the work, and they're the ones that are always forgotten. Always. As a leader in the military, I learned one thing. Women and children eat first. You gave this man a $300,000 salary. It sounds like the LISD and UISD sitcom, Let's Make a Millionaire. We need a superintendent that is not afraid to rock the boat. Enough with UISD corruption and excessive salaries and high taxes for taxpayers. And it's also, we need to end discretionary funds. There's no need for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Ruiz.
Our last comment is from Mr. Robert Eads regarding the Boys and Girls Club and family engagement.
Good evening, Mr. Eads.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. We'll obviously keep our comments into 3-minute window. My name is Robert Eads. I'm the CEO for the Boys and Girls Club of Laredo. With me, I've got Kevin Lopez, COO of our organization. We come to you again this year seeking to continue our partnership that we began last year with our after-school programming. We targeted 2 individual sites, one in North Laredo, being San Isidro, and the South Laredo site, which was Arndt Elementary. We want to continue that partnership. We believe we've been an asset to your organization, to UISD. I've heard great things about the outcomes, after-school numbers, and being able to service children that are within the UISD system for after-school programming. So where we can continue to be an assistance to UISD, we put ourselves forward again. We offer our services once again, and we hope that you would consider even an expansion of our services. We have enough bandwidth to even go to an additional school perhaps if we wanted to do that as well. Obviously we're in the crunch time where school's already starting tomorrow, we get that. But we've started our program that quickly and are able to do so that quickly again. So just some of the things that I want to point out is that from the 2 school sites that we had hundreds of kids from all grade levels coming through our programs. We offered at 0 cost for the students. And so whereas children may have to be paying or have to be paying an after-school fee per child to the school district, for us in our Boys and Girls Club program, which is housed at the same school without leaving the comfort of that elementary school, we provide a like service, and with some differences in where we added some programs that are still evidence-based. They're approved by your staff. I believe we've had quite a number of conversations. We hope to continue with these again. I know we're not up here right now for an action item or a vote, but we hope to very soon be in front of you again to further elaborate on this. Work with the new superintendent. Congratulations, Dr. Cruz. Go Mustangs. 1990s lip. Sorry. 86-90. I know we're looking at you.
Not here.
No, but it's great things. Again, we're here to help service UISD. We're only here to solve problems. We're here to help with that after-school need that we know. As a parent, also of a UISD family, I understand that need, and so we're hoping that we can go ahead and strike that iron and cross a couple check boxes, because I believe even with the programs that we're offering and running, working with your federal program group as well, I think we check off a lot of different boxes, offering not like services, but services that can be actually accounted for in a lot of different ways because of just the way we do it. So again, we come here offering our services. We hope to see each other soon. And again, we'll keep working with your staff. We're excited and hoping that we can continue for this upcoming year and years beyond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
No further public comments.
All right, so no further public comments? Okay, agenda item 4 is informational items. We have item A is discussion regarding the possible implementation of the UISD Management Initiatives Program, MIP, to facilitate efficiency and effectiveness.
Mr. Vélez, members of the board, at this time, we'd recommend tabling it.
So moved.
Discussion.
Second.
We're not voting.
You don't have to vote to table, it's just a
Sorry.
rec-
Oh, that's
it's just a
right. I'm sorry.
recommendation.
Yes, that was right.
Yes.
Sorry.
My apologies, that just, they were pushing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is this gonna become brought back at a later date? Is that?
I would say probably next month at the workshop, that way we can have an in-depth
Okay.
discussion on it.
No problem. Item B is 2024-2025 parent and family engagement.
Good evening, board members and members of the audience. My name is Adriana Ramirez, Executive Director for Federal Programs, and today I do bring you our parent policy our parent engagement policy for the 24-25 school year. We did have a committee of parents, our parent engagement district committee that met. They did review our last year's policy. We did make appropriate changes, and they did adopt it. So we are ready to start the year. And basically, our policy, what it does is it delineates our plan to continue our parent engagement services throughout the district and throughout the year. We will be working with parents, again, through our different parent sessions, parent trainings, and workshops that we offer. We do have a plan to offer them at the SAC and also in different parts of our district to make sure that we offer enough opportunities for all parents to be part of the process. We also work with our campuses to make sure that they have what they need to continue their parent engagement as well. Our plan is to continue to promote awareness and bring our parents into the school for the benefit of our students. Any major changes?
No major changes. We're going to continue to work as best as possible, and we already have our date for the Parent Learning Summit, which involves all of our campuses, all of our districts, November 16th.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Ramirez, the committee that you mentioned, that is encompassed mainly of parents, or?
It is parents from across the district.
How many are members of the committee?
I think this year we had like seven parents.
Okay. No problem.
Where are you hosted this time? I know last year was at United.
It will be at United.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate the information. Thank you, ma'am. Item C is memorandum of understanding between United Independent School District and the Council for Education and Excellence, CEE, and institutions of higher education for college prep mathematics and English and art courses.
Good evening, board members, administrators, and members of the audience. Mario Rosales, Director of Advanced Academics. I bring to you informational item in reference to a memorandum of understanding that we've had with TAMIU and LC for the past 11 years. So this was created as a mandate by the 83rd legislature. So it's mandated via House Bill 5, Section 10 and Section 28.014 of the Texas Education Code, that each school district shall partner with at least one institution of higher ed to develop and provide courses in mathematics and English language arts. So these courses are offered to 12th graders as mandated by law. So the institutions that I just named are jointly recognized to give an opportunity to create a seamless pathway for students to enter into college level work in math and English language arts without further remediation. So that means that if they go through the course and pass the class, they have 2 years after they graduate to go to TAMIU or LC, and they will not have to start with remediation courses in English and math. They'll start with college level courses. So some of the updates that took place after being with the institutions of higher learning for 11 years is to create an end of course assessment for the preparatory course in partnership with United ISD to maintain the course rigor, and the assessment will count 25% of the final average, which is what we do now for all courses. So just to give you an idea, I provided the document for your review, and just wanted to give you the information that we're continuing with this agreement until TEA says otherwise.
It's been a successful partnership, and it's something that year after year we offer courses to our high school
Yes,
students.
sir, as mandated. And each high school has the course.
Appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item D is Child Nutrition Department. This information on adult breakfast and lunch price increase effective September 1st, 2024.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, administrators, and members of the audience. Raul Ramirez, Director of Child Nutrition. We bring to you tonight as an informational item, adult breakfast and lunch price increase beginning September 1st, 2024. The price for adult servings for only United ISD staff will increase from $2.75 to $3 for breakfast and $4.75 to $5.25 for lunch. The United States Department of Agriculture is requiring the United ISD as well as all the districts which operate a non-pricing program under the community eligibility provision to comply with Method 2 of the USDA Administrative Reference Manual, Section 19, meal pricing, as the worksheet attached indicates.
So this is a mandated increase?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing we can do?
Yes, ma'am. The only thing I can say is the Department of Agriculture has been very generous in increasing our reimbursement rates, which the result is this. Yes, ma'am.
Essentially, we have to do a formula, and it gives us the pricing, as you can see here on the screen. We don't want to be coming every year. We actually did an increase 2 years ago, and so we anticipate that this should sustain us for the next couple of years. And then we'd have to come back again with a new worksheet and formula.
Next year.
So if a staff member wants to buy breakfast, they want to buy lunch?
Yes, sir, and we offer a la carte as well, so they don't have to pay the full price. They can buy 1 or 2 items, and it'll be, be a reduction to the amount that's here.
Do we have an amount of, like, this past school year, what was the amount that was generated from this charging of?
Yes, the amount that we collected for this year was about $119,000, $120,000.
For the whole year?
Yes, for the whole year.
Now, keep in mind, our budget's millions and the millions.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But if we're charging $5 and $3, that means that there's a lot of staff members that are
Yes, sir.
actually having breakfast.
They're taking advantage, yes.
Taking advantage, yes.
Yeah, there's like 30% for breakfast as far as a full meal,
Right.
and then they do a la carte, and then it reverses at the lunch where they take the full meal at 70%,
About 70%.
and then about 30% a la carte.
Okay.
So,
All right, Mr. Lopez, thank you for the information.
Thank you.
thank you.
Item E is budget 2024-2025 update.
Good evening, Mr. Bellis. Unfortunately, Lida wasn't able to make it tonight, so I'm going to fill in for her and present to you all what we're proposing for the 24-25 budget. Just to remind you that TEA requires of their section 44002-006 of the Texas Education Code that the fiscal department should prepare a budget by August the 20th, which we presented to you all.
Yes.
It will be presented for your approval next week, and it has to be adopted by August 31st. The way you adopt the funds for United ISDs, you have to adopt the general fund, the debt service fund, and the food service fund separately. And those are the funds that we're gonna go through when we get through this presentation. After you adopt the fund, then you have to adopt the funding source, which is school districts is the tax rate. So what have we done so far? We started in October. We looked at enrollment projections. We went through staffing meetings. We received preliminary values from the Webb County Appraisal District. We handed out allocations to all the departments and campuses, and they were due May 30th, and everybody met the deadline. We had some workshops with you all throughout the month of June and August, with this one being considered. July 25th, we get our final values from the Webb County Appraisal School District. And then August the 11th, we publish in the newspaper what the tax rate is going to be for 2024, 2025. And then we'll have the public hearing next week during the board meeting as required by law. And if everything goes as planned, September 1st, the funds will be available for the district to use. Before we get into 24-25, we felt it was important to remind the board and the community what United ISD has been facing the last couple of budget seasons. In 22-23, Just the biggest number here on this slide is going to be that we had to adopt, excuse me, a deficit fund balance, a deficit budget of $25.5 million. However, we were in the peak of ESSER funds. So in essence, ESSER helped us balance our fund, our budget back in 22-23. We made some adjustments to the budget. We did offer promotions, raises, and met the needs that we had failed to meet maybe in 22-23, in 23-24. But we were able to produce some more revenue because the state legislative have met in between these two budgets, and our deficit went down to 9.5 million. We still had money in reserve from ESSER 3. So in essence, we adopted with the help of ESSER, a balanced budget. So those 2 years, in essence, were presented as balanced budgets. When we met with you in our first budget workshop with you on June the 6th, we are projecting a $108 million fund balance ending this fiscal year. We had projected back then revenues of $426.9 million and expenses of $443.4 million. At that point, we were looking at a $16 million deficit, a little over $16 million, with a projected fund balance of $92 million. Back then, if you remember, during the presentation, we reminded you all that we were starting to see a trend where UISD was getting back to normal trends, normal projections. COVID obviously took an impact on not just this school district, but all over the state, and not just school districts, governments as a whole, and even private companies.
You mean attendance?
Pardon me?
Attendance or?
Attendance, yes. Specifically for a school district was attendance. And even a little bit, a real small amount in tax collections. But as we watched this year, we started seeing that there was growth in attendance and that we were getting back to the old days of our old collection rates. So we watched it very carefully, but at that time, these were the numbers that we were projecting because we weren't completely into a final stage of our projections. We'll do projections and we'll adjust them quarterly. So what we're presenting right now is we're maintaining the $108 million fund balance that we think we're gonna end with this year. Our revenues jumped to 432. Let's see if I can do this at the same time here. It was 426, so we went to 432. And our expenses pretty much, this is United ISD expense at 442 million. We were able to bring them down to a certain degree, and we'll go through the slides and explain how. So we brought down, we're not excited to present a $9.7 million deficit, don't get me wrong. But because we are returning to what we're gonna call normalcy projections, we're feeling we can adopt a budget at $9.7 million deficit and end up with a $99 million overall fund balance. So how do we get there? Well, one of the main factors is we're going to have, in revenue, we're gonna have local, state, and federal revenue. Our local revenue is based off of our tax roll. Our tax values came in at 25.7 billion at the time that we had this presentation with the July 25th values that we received. It was a net decrease of $8.4 million. The biggest contributing factor to the change in tax values was oil and gas. So we've had this situation come up every so often with UISD. We're a very unique school district. A lot of school districts in the state of Texas, unless you're way out there in West Texas, do not have oil and gas properties the way United ISD does. What saved us from a 34% decrease from the prior year was all other categories rose 14%. So we only dropped, 8.4 million sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about $25.7 billion in value, it was less than 0.5% change from property value from one year to the next. So for the general fund, our tax rate is maintaining, it's staying exactly the same. Now the way that works, if you remember a couple of legislative sessions ago, the state came out with an MCR, which is your maximum compressed rate. They get an average, just in a nutshell, it's a little bit more complex than this, but just in a nutshell, they'll get an average of all the schools in the state of Texas, and their tax rate is about 68.92 cents. Then UISD has to come up based off of our property values and everything that we're facing for the year. We come up with our tax rate, and it's 61.92, 61 cents, right? But it's maximum compressed rate, so you have to take the lesser of the two. It gets a little bit more complicated because the state will not let you fall lower than 90% of their rate. So we're at 61.92. Then we get into tier 2 funding, which are what people call the super pennies. We're allowed, the UISD qualifies for 5 super pennies. So we're ending up with a 66 cents tax rate, which is exactly the same on the M&O side as last year's tax rate. So with local taxes coming in, there are some other factors that have happened that the previous legislative session adopted. For one was the guaranteed yield, and that we're going to go over on the next slide with the state revenue that comes in, which also help boost a little bit of our local tax collections, because they kind of have a target revenue. As one goes up, they kind of allow you to let the other one go up. As one goes down, sometimes the other one goes up and down. So they're interrelated. They sound independent because of the slideshow, but they're interrelated when we get to the next slide. Another contributing factor, we have been living for the last 2 decades in 1% interest rates or less. This past year and the year before, we've been finally getting into interest rates that were around in the 70s, and the 80s, the 90s, and we're back at 5.2. Our portfolio of over $100 million is yielding about 5.2% on average. So we're projecting to end this year at 4.6 million, and we only had budgeted, I believe it was about 2.8 million. With the increase in the revenue that we're seeing as we go through the slides, we're being conservative because the Fed has met already, and the market is adjusting to their assumption that they may reduce the Fed fund rate in September. So we would have loved to hit $5 million because the trend was increasing, but with that news, we're already seeing the market adjust to that. So we only added $100,000, but we feel that that $4.7 million is very obtainable. We're hoping we might come in a little higher than that. When we go into the state revenues, if you remember, it's all based on average daily attendance. So again, the June 6th meeting that we had, with those projections that we had, we were projecting that we would probably budget with average daily attendance in the low 90s. So we come in, the first thing we do is we come in with our projected enrollment of 41,237 students. It's a little higher than our peak enrollment of 41,193 students, but our trend is showing that we could possibly meet that, and it's a lot lower than what we adopted last year at 41,383 students. But by doing that, then you get our percentage of ADA, and our average daily attendance when we were on the June 16th, on the June 6th meeting, we were looking at probably finishing the year at around 91%, maybe 91.5%. We had kind of made a comment that Thelma Martinez would really kick it in gear, and we were hoping that we'd get to, a 93%. And congratulations to her, because we ran reports and we ended up at a 93.82%. So when I mentioned to you earlier that the district is on a trend of getting back to normal UISD amounts, so we feel very confident that we can increase our budgeted average daily attendance to 93.5%. That adds millions of dollars to our budget. Now, we get excited for that, and I'm not going to challenge her anymore, but we used to budget at 94.5%, some good years 96%, and those are millions of dollars, right? So we can get the students to come in, we can do whatever it takes to help the schools attract these kids to come in, especially Mondays and Fridays. It would be a very positive impact on the $9.7 million deficit that we're presenting to you guys this week.
We're going to definitely challenge Ms. Martinez again to
Okay.
increase that percentage.
Then we can.
And it's happening.
She's done a great job.
Of course.
Yes, a commended job. So we're projecting 218 million. Last year we were at 210. So you can see the significance of attendance in our revenue formula. We get to federal revenue. This is a smaller portion of our budget, but significant. The SHARS Medicare revenue that's been coming in has been surprisingly well. It's been coming in a little bit more than what we've been budgeting, and if you notice, we're proposing $8.8 million, and it's an increase of about $1 million plus over last year's $7 million, and mainly with indirect costs, Head Start program, and ROTC reimbursements. But SHARS Medicaid has been coming in a lot higher. The difference here is actually we've added $1.7 million to SHARS. So we're gonna watch that carefully because the rules have been changing and there's not enough clarity right now to find out what really is gonna happen with SHARS. So we'll watch that. It could have been more, but because of the ambiguity right now, what's happening with SHARS and the changes that they're gonna make, on our end, we're supposed to be conservative, excuse me. So we only increased it by 1.7, and that's literally the increase between last year and this year's federal revenue.
Sam, just for the public, that category is specific to reimbursements that we're able to garner for special ed services,
Yeah.
anything related to that. So
Yeah.
the public may not be aware what that category
I
is.
just Googled it, so
Yes,
I
yes,
saw
yes.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Your brother's right here.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk to her after the meeting. Anyway, so moving forward to payroll expenditures, those are all the revenues, by the way. I don't know if anybody has any questions on the revenue at this point. Okay, so we're moving into the expenditure side of the budget. There have been some significant adjustments to personnel this past year. So we've added 14 teachers of special ed, 18 campus staff to Ramirez Middle School, 21 special ed aides, and we reduced the amount of custodians that we're actually budgeting for by 49 positions. Those at the campus level. At the department level, we have reduced 13 department staff vacancies and 25 bus driver vacancies. It doesn't mean we're reducing all the vacancies, but we're taking out a consistent number of vacancies that we haven't been able to fill over the last couple of years. So we're not budgeting for them. One of the comments in the public comments was about vacancies, and the way we had reminded you all on June the 6th, what we would do is we would reduce the budget to have it to be a maintained and manageable budget based off of the revenues that we're receiving. If we start employing these staff members, then we will come to you middle of the year and we will give you the impact that they're making on the budget and bring the money out of fund balance, which is a good thing because that means we're finally starting to get to, like I said, the theme tonight for the budget is returning back to normalcy, right? We're finally getting COVID into the rearview mirror, and we're getting back to what United ISD needs to operate. And the ambiguity of vacancies going through the roof and coming back down, the large amount of monies that we're spending, I know substitutes was mentioned as well. You know, we presented to you all the increase in expenditure for subs is doubled. So we feel that maybe we're at the beginning now where we start presenting good news during the budget instead of these heartache situations that we've been in, that we've been able to survive. So return to normalcy, it looks like that's what's gonna happen. And again, if these people show up, they start applying for these jobs, we will definitely come to you and fund them. Then the reassignments at CNI, there was 22 staff members that were reassigned, and 1.95 million of those salaries were redistributed to the campuses. Continuing on with payroll expenditures, on June the 6th, I mentioned that a few times already, that's when the board adopted the new benefits package that's affecting mainly auxiliary staff members, the lower pay grades. Yeah, that was also mentioned in public comments. We did address that. We are doing our best to attract people to come back to United ISD at those positions that are very hard to attract, and salary attracts people to positions. So we made an impact on that. The board also, with this budget, is agreeing to add $50 per month per member to health insurance to curb the cost of health insurance, which would cost the district $3 million. And then we continue to provide full-time employees with a $25,000 death benefit. I'm sorry. So total payroll expenses are $373 million. We're moving on to the non-payroll expenses at $69.3 million. I won't go through all of them, but you could see that there's a fair allocation where we feel the need is. Obviously, campus allocations is the largest by far. I think that's where the money belongs. Then we have extracurricular, $5 million. CNI support staff, $7 million. You get down to facilities, $3.2 million. General administration, $2.7 million. Utilities, it's very expensive to keep the lights on in the school district and the water flowing, but we're committed to it, obviously, so $10.7 million. And then we have debt where we're financing the one-to-one initiative. We're bringing some library books in. We're bringing in things that are one-time expenditures that we shouldn't, pay for with operating funds, and that's up to $9.8 million. Then we have a clause here that the state of Texas requires us to read, because some of these organizations that we're a part of, the Texas Teachers Associations, the board associations, TASB, TASBO, TASA, all those, when you pay a due, part of the percentage of that due is used to allow these organizations go to these the state legislature and talk to them about upcoming laws that would help the employees, to help school districts. They call it lobbying. We just call it trying to right-size school districts and to bring benefits to school districts. Well, so we're required to make it known that of all those dues, 6,381 go directly or indirectly to influence or attempting to influence the outcome of legislation or administrative action. And this current year, we spent $6,395. But some of the dues went down, so we're about $6,381. As you all know, ESSER funds, they're done. That's why it was important to start off this presentation to tell you where we were 2 years ago and how we used ESSER funds to help us present a balanced budget, right? So what we did was we committed to help these people out. They stayed on staff with UISD, and we moved these positions, 13 nurses, 6 other positions that we moved to the general fund, 5 positions that are moving to federal funding. A total of $600,000 is moving to the general fund for these employees that the district is committed to. And we've also had $7.2 million in instructional software that we're moving from ESSER funding into the general fund. All of this is included in the budget that we presented in the $9.7 million deficit. The software was intense. There was a lot of research done on the software. There was a lot of tracking done on the software. There was a lot of analytics done on the software, how much is being used at what grade level by subject matter. We weeded out a lot of software, but we are a sizable school district, and there are a lot of needs, and we offer every single grade level. And so we have math software, sciences here and here, math, science, English, bilingual, everything you can think of, special ed software, and it comes out to about $7.2 million that the district is committed to roll over into the general fund to keep providing the services to the students. This is directly into the classroom. So it's a total of about $7.8 million that the general fund has picked up from the ESSER funding.
A couple items.
Yes, sir.
Back on the ESSER position, if you recall, the board, we had reported to you all that it was well over 100,000. So we've had some individuals that have either retired or left. So as they're leaving, we're reducing that amount. So we're down to 600,000 from that. And then on the software, we did do a lot of back and forth. We are committed to doing it still for next year to be able to see the reduction, hopefully. But the state is also coming with some new programs that may offset some of these softwares that we're doing already. And so through our instructional materials allotment, we may be able to fund some of these in the future. So we're hoping that that comes down as well.
So that was for the general fund revenues and expenditures. I don't know if you all have any questions on the general fund at this point. Okay, so remember there were 3 funds that you have to approve: the general fund, the debt service, and the child nutrition food service fund. So this is the debt service fund. To specifically address at this time the public comment that was made.
Right.
When they see $30 million in our budget, and this year it's going to be $35.2 million, that's the bond debt payment that we have to make for the bonds that we have issued in the past. I believe we have like 400 and something million outstanding. So every year we've got to pay principal and interest, and state law requires us to keep those funds separate. So these funds can never be allocated for the general fund operating. They cannot be supplemented for the general fund operating. They can only be spent to pay down bonded debt. So, and then you can only levy a tax rate to cover that amount of debt payment. And these debt payments go through certified bond counsels, and they go through financial advisors who are regulated by the SEC. So the dollar amount is our debt schedule. If you would like, we can send you the detail of all the different bonds outstanding, how much is principal and how much is interest for the year. We make payments every February and August. You do them twice a year. And this is pretty much about the same, almost literally the same. I think it's $1,000 or $2,000 different from last year's payment. So we're leveling off in our debt. Obviously, we haven't issued new bonds yet, so from here on out, we start really impacting the amount of debt that we're gonna have outstanding. And that's why there's going to be a decrease in debt service, because also I've failed to mention, in the last legislative session, the state authorized, how do I say this? They authorized a 313 agreement, so we have a higher property value in debt service that we can tax than in the general fund. You remember Corazon Energy and these energy plants that they're putting the wind farms and the solar farms, so we have a higher property value here that we can collect from. Then what also happened that's impacting directly in the debt service fund was the moving from $40,000 in exempt value to $100,000, and then the readjustment of taxpayers that are 65 and older. So the state promised that they would hold us harmless because that's gonna reduce our tax collection, and they would come in and supplement that amount to help us pay this $35 million, and that's $2.2 million out of this budget. So what that does is, in essence, out of the $35 million, UISD is only gonna pay $33 million because the state's coming in with hold harmless of $2.2 million. So our actual debt service tax rate is gonna drop by 1.2 cents, which is gonna affect, and you'll see it in the next slide, it's gonna affect the overall tax rate. So remember I told you the general fund tax rate, everything's staying the same, right? But the debt service tax rate is decreasing because we are not allowed to tax more than what the debt service requirement is. And since the state is coming in with 2.2 million, it lowers this 35 to 33. So our tax rate has to follow that decline. We can only tax what's to make the payment.
I know you mentioned you're
Yes, sir.
able to provide to us a list of different bonds. Obviously, there is, there's not one or two, it's several that
No,
are
sir. Yeah.
throughout
Yes,
the
sir.
year. So
Yes,
if you're able to provide that to us, is that something that can be posted on our website as well?
Sure. And it's what we are starting the external audit season for our financial statements to end this year. We also presented in the audit, it's one of the notes, note G, I believe, long-term debt, and it breaks it down in different ways.
Okay.
But most definitely, yes, sir, we can post it on our website.
Just so we can see a breakdown and
Sure.
the public can have a breakdown of that
Yes,
final
sir.
33 million that's gonna be out
Yes, sir.
in payments.
Yes, sir, we can do that. So that was it for the debt service. It's a balanced budget, by the way. We could collect the revenues that cover the expenses. So on the debt service side, we have a balanced budget. And in the food service, they're presenting a $40,626,054 budget, and this is also a balanced budget. They have revenue that's gonna cover these expenses, and they're still in the community eligibility provision program that allows all students, regardless of their economic status, to eat free at the schools. So where are we now? We'll hold the public hearing next week on August the 21st during the regularly scheduled board meeting. We will present the budget to you, and then the tax rate, they will go as individual items. And then to wrap it all up, you can see here that the maintenance operation tax rate stayed the same. And that's due to that MCR that I explained to you, the maximum compressed rate. And the INS, because of the assistance coming in from the state and the higher values that we can tax, we dropped it down by 1.2 cents, and that's literally the difference between last year's tax rate and the tax rate that we're proposing. During public comments, it was mentioned that the taxes keep going up and up and up, and I feel for the taxpayers. I am a taxpayer as well. We don't get exempt from taxes because we work for the school district. We still have to pay taxes. That was a joke for everybody here. So I had staff run back to the back to give us a history, and in 21-22, the district's overall tax rate was $1.17. Okay. Today, the tax rate is gonna be 79 cents if you round.
It's a little less.
So we dropped 39 cents in 4 years.
I mean, that is actually significant.
that's major.
And it's actually very rare,
Yes.
right? So,
So
yes, congratulations.
we're trying to meet the
Yeah.
needs. We're trying to maintain an A. We want to be the best place to work in the city and the county. We have budget constraints, and it's obviously the revenue side. We are seeing increased revenues. Remember, hopefully that's the theme this whole year. We are returning back to normal UISD operations. So we're hoping these trends come back. We're hoping that we can get to 96% so we can offer money to the teachers, to the pay grade ones, to everybody that deserves, we all deserve that raise. We are doing our best while maintaining the best, most effective tax rate that we can manage with.
I think it's important, I'm sure you saw it in your tax statement, right? Even if your value went up, you still had a reduction. Our over 65 individuals would come to the tax office and they would actually have a zero tax bill. And they would question us, hey, how is this possible? But that's the way it all played out. So even some of our over 65 exempt paid zero taxes last year.
Yes.
It was a great benefit that we've been able to.
Very much so.
So here, just to close it out, you see the general fund, the debt service and child nutrition, proposed budgets, I'm sorry, side by side, and you can see the debt service and child nutrition are balanced budgets. And for now, the general fund is at a deficit of $9.7 million.
Which is actually pretty good, because we were
Because our
facing
trend,
we were anticipating maybe double.
Our
that,
trends are coming
right.
back.
Yeah.
And I will definitely tell Ms. Martinez, Mr. Bellis, that you want a 94.
I think that we're all gonna reach out to her.
We're gonna do
96.
We're gonna do
95.
So hopefully we get back to post-COVID, and that's behind us now.
And it's good to say, at no cost to the taxpayers, you know,
Surely.
even though you said there's budget constraints, but you know, a lot of numbers, you know, but I think we're, no tax raise.
And again, I apologize for Lyda not being here. If I would have known I was gonna do the presentation, I would have cut it like by 4 or 5 slides so we could get out.
Oh, you did a good job.
As always, Mr.
Thank
Flores,
you.
very thorough,
Thank you.
and
Yes.
a lot of information, but needed information to be
I
put out there.
do want to take the time right now to thank Lyda, Sam, all the accounting department, Rosa, Felipe, everybody. They did a fantastic job. They've always had, at the end of the day. But, you know, I can assure the board and the public that we worked diligently to make sure that we were bringing to y'all the least impactful budget deficit as possible. We, as you recall, on June the 6th, when we presented the compensation plan, we had a $16 million deficit. So the fact that we brought it, the staff brought it down to 9.7, whatever it was, is a significant decrease from our original projection. So we're optimistic for the future.
Thank you.
Sure. Agenda item 5, following items are to be reviewed by members of the board with recommendations for actions to be made at the next regular board meeting. Item A is board resolution approving a one-time salary increase pay raise for substitutes and or classroom teachers for the 2024-2025 school year.
Mr. Release, just to clarify, it's the incentive program that we had talked about at the last board meeting, and the board directed us, not only did we have the substitute cost associated with that number, but we also looked at a teacher incentive cost for perfect attendance. Both of them were provided to you all by handout, and we'll send it again on the Friday packet. But again, these are not proposals that we have an offsetting revenue source from.
Right.
All the other compensation plan that we presented to you in June, we had an offsetting revenue stream for it. This does not. So if you do want to go forward, this is a board item. Like, this is not something that we were asked to present it.
Correct.
And so at the end of the day, if you do go forward on it, just know that you're adding to the deficit going forward.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if you had any questions on the.
No, I'd like to review it and continue to.
Yes, sir.
Keep it pending. Hopefully next week we can come up with some ideas.
Right.
Yes, sir.
All right, item B is monthly disbursements.
Good evening,
Good
members of
evening,
the
ma'am.
board, members of the audience. Rosa Cabello, Director of Accounting. Tonight, we bring you an agenda action item, monthly disbursements for the month of July. Do you all have any questions in regards to the
I
disbursements?
review that. I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gallo. Item C is submission of the 2023 certified excess debit taxes collected in the 2024 anticipated collection rate.
Good evening, board members, administration, members of the audience. I bring to you every year the submission of our certified excess debt taxes collected in our anticipated tax collection rate. So for the 23, we have an excess of $545,196.91 for the excess debt taxes collected. And we anticipate that we'll be collecting 101% of that rate. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Item D, submission of appraisal roll to the governing body.
Good evening. We bring to you the submission of the appraisal roll that was certified July 25th by the Webb County Appraisal District Chief Appraiser. So we bring to you our values, our certified values of 33.6 billion. We also have the net appraised value of 32.7 billion for a taxable value of 25.3 billion.
Thank you very much for the information.
Thank you.
Item E is adoption of official budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bailey, that will be presented in its final form to the board next week.
Thank you, sir. Item G is awarding bids, proposals, qualifications, and extensions.
Good evening,
Good
Mr. Beliz, Ms. Oliveros, and Ms. Molina. Cordy Jackson from the Purchasing Office for the record. We have the following for your consideration. RFP 2024-019, small engine parts and repairs to TELUS Equipment. RFP 2024-018, hardwood floors repair and maintenance to Quality Hardwood Floors. RFP 2024-017, labor and material for electrical services to Alpha Omega Electrical Services LLP and to LED electric and lighting contractors. RFP 2024-016, child nutrition supplies to the vendors listed. RFP 2024-013, promotional items and printing related services to the vendors listed. RFP 2024-012, award jackets to the vendors listed. RFP 2024-011, architectural signs to Vulcan Signs. RFP 2024-009, tires to Southern Tire Mart, the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and T&W Tire. RFP 2024-008, auto parts and supplies to the vendors listed. RFP 2024-007, food produce vendors to the vendors listed. RFP 2024-002, district-wide uniforms to the vendors listed by section, depending on the department. And we have 31 renewals for your consideration.
Ron?
Mr. Velez, quickly, I do believe we glossed over item F, the resolution of the 2024 tax rate.
Oh, apologize.
Yes, sir.
So we'll go back to, yeah, I believe so. It's item F, resolution to adopt 2024 tax rate. Is that you, Ms. Madrigal, again?
Yes.
All right.
Good
I'm
evening,
sorry to
Monica
skip you.
Madrigal, Tax Assessor Collector. Yes, we bring to you the resolution to adopt the 2024 the proposed tax rate. We're proposing to adopt for a rate of 0.785970. It's combined rate of M&O at 0.669200 and the debt service at 0.116770, as was mentioned by Mr. Flores. This resolution will be presented to the full board at the next board meeting Wednesday, August 21st.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just for the board's information, we did post it in the paper as required by law, so.
Okay. Item H, purchase power agreement between United ISD and PEG Capital LLC for solar PV array purchase power agreement to United ISD campuses.
Yes, good evening. The recommendation here is to enter an agreement with PEG Capital LLC, and this is to provide a partial electricity source at two of our schools, which is San Isidro and Molina Middle School. If you recall, back in February of this year, we brought to you the solar panel project, and so now the vendor has concluded all their in-depth analysis, and they have presented the 20-year pricing program to the district. Our attorneys have reviewed the contract, our energy manager has reviewed the contract, and at this point the district is wanting to go ahead and make the recommendation, as it will be beneficial for the district. Again, this is only a percentage of the electricity that's going to be generated, only about 22 and 23% respectively. And so Mr. Salim Khan from TC Engineering is here, and he has a brief presentation for you all to just give you a general idea of the whole project and, you know, how we're gonna move forward.
Right, okay.
Salim? Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Well, name is Salim Khan. I'm with Texas Energy Engineering Services, TZ Engineering, and proud to say that I've been serving the district for almost 30 years now. So this was a wonderful opportunity. I think we've gone through some of this stuff previously, but I thought we'd just recap everything and tell you all what the next step is basically over here. So earlier in 2023, we did a pilot project. We called it a pilot project because it has not been done anywhere in the state of Texas. We're kind of new to this. It's called a purchase power agreement, in which there is no upfront cost by the district, but at the same time, there are savings associated with whatever is generated on site. Two school districts were selected by the facilities department and by the administration in general, which was the Molina Middle School and San Isidro Elementary School. At that point in time, it was decided to come up with a request for competitive proposal, basically, and we assisted in developing that request for competitive proposal with some criteria, minimum standards, and so forth were established, and it was for a turnkey installation of a solar PV system, design and construction, basically by a service company, energy service company. So 3 bids were received at that point, and this is almost a year ago now. 3 bids were received basically at that point in time, and we initially evaluated them and went back to all 3 bidders, asked for more clarifications and so forth. So well, all the information was all plain field. Even we did our analysis, and then we presented our analysis to United Independent School District. As a result of that, the staff then internally conducted their own evaluations, basically. The PEG Energy at that point in time was recommended for this project. The evaluation committee was Mr. Angel, Ignacio Alaniz, Ms. Rosa, and Ernesto, I think Ernesto, Ms. Ruiz, and Mr. Manchaca, basically. They were the evaluation committee. So they had all the information and analysis, and they made their decision basically at that point in time. So where we are right now, and that's why we have this, so I wanted to just recap where everything was. So they were selected, but they could not proceed unless we had an agreement on the purchase power agreement, basically, as to how much it'll cost, how much they will, so that's primarily what we were doing. It took a little longer because, again, it wasn't done before, and we just wanted to, check most of the things. So UISD, TZ, and legal, actually, all 3 combined did evaluations and went through that, and then as a result of that, they presented a final PPA, which is for your consideration for the board approval, basically. So what it is that under this agreement, 20% of this energy use on each of these campuses, approximately 20%, would be coming from solar PV systems over there. So this, as a result of this, we got a 20-year pricing for whatever they're generating over here. So for example, you all are paying close to 9 cents right now. Under this project, it will start at 5.5 cents, and it will go to around about 7 cents, a little over 7 cents over a 20-year period. So it's almost, by then I expect the energy, the utility cost maybe 14, 15 cents at that point in time, basically. So that's where the savings are coming into account over there. So before they can actually go implement anything, we had to have the PPA agreement, and we had to have general agreement on terms and conditions. That all has been done. So once we go to prove it, then they'll go into implementation phase. It says 8 to 12 months, but I suspect it's going to be much faster than that, the implementation part of it. So that's, I just wanted to just give you all a little recap of where we were on this project. Right. Okay.
So in that PPA, because I don't know much about solar panels.
Sure.
But I have heard that there is maintenance involved.
That's all included in their scope, basically. Okay. So if it doesn't produce enough, they don't make money also themselves. They can bill the school district for that, so it's in their interest also, and there are clauses over there that will maintain it.
Okay, all right.
Is there a possibility that 20% can increase as far as
yes,
based on
well, not under this, but
future projects.
For future yes, sir. Yes, sir. We at this point in time, a prototype, this was the number that, see, they're coming up with their own funds also, so if they increase the cost, then the savings to the district will be less, and so on and so forth, so that was the equation that went.
Because I imagine, we just saw that we pay, what, 10 million?
Yeah, utilities, yes.
So I imagine if we start seeing a huge cost savings, we're
Yes.
gonna wanna expand to other
Absolutely,
sites.
absolutely.
I mean, theoretically, if we were to do district-wide, again, this is a pilot, technically, right? This has always been the idea. If it goes well, I mean, theoretically, we could save $2 million, 20% from that 10 million, right?
Wait,
But
on
really.
those two sites? With
No,
those
no,
two?
overall,
Oh,
district-wide, right?
okay, yeah.
But it really is, honestly, it's the diversion for later. 20 years from now, rates are gonna be much, much higher.
Right.
And so we would avoid that particular increase over time.
So why are we not doing more than 20%?
So it's a little complex financial, they have to come up with their own funds, right, basically. So if they.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the information.
Thank you.
Thank
All right, so item I, resolution designating non-business days from September 1st, 2024 through August 31st, 2025 in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 5520031. Mr. Canales, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Belize, Ms. Oliveros, members of the audience. Administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution designated for the non-business days from September 1, 2024 through August 31st, 2025 in accordance with the Texas Government Code 5520031. So this has to do with those 10 days that the district gets to choose, where we can use them for the open records request, that we have those 10 additional days. And we have a resolution and we have a calendar.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Item J, additional T-test appraisers for the 2024-2025 school year.
So we come again, recommending that for next week, you approve the additional appraisers for T-tests. We did get a couple more that were picked up for APs. We'll be probably coming back again next month for maybe a couple more stragglers that we have still pending, but we're almost towards the end.
Yes, sir. All right, appreciate it.
you.
Thank you.
Item K, interlocal agreement and memorandum of understanding between Webb County Juvenile Board, Juvenile Alternative Education Program, JJAUP, and United ISD for the 2024-2025 school year. Hello, ma'am.
Good evening. What a wonderful evening. We start school tomorrow, so we're all excited in the audience. But we're glad to be here before you, honorable board members, and of course, members of the audience. This evening, we bring before you the Memorandum of Understanding with JJAUP. That is a facility that provides educational services to students that are expelled from United ISD. We only have 3 minor changes. One of those is adding FERPA language, which of course restricts the information that can be disseminated by JJAP staff to anyone else outside of their educational facility. The second change actually comes from our testing department, our testing director. In the past, we used to have a paper and pencil test, and since everything's online now, there's less likelihood that we will be using campus administrators to deliver materials, pick up materials. And they're now providing direct training to JJAP instead of requiring them to attend our training sessions. And the third one is just, should JJAP, the Juvenile Board, need to dispute one of the items in our contract, they have their own compliance committee that they need to go through. And those are the 3 minor changes. We are anticipating a student growth or student performance report, which we will include in your Friday packet as well. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Item L, renewal of interlocal agreement between UISD and Communities in Schools of Laredo, Inc. for the 2024-2025 school year.
Good evening, Mr. Veliz, Ms. Oliveros, members of the audience, Rebecca Morales, Assistant Superintendent for Administration and Policies. For the record, we bring to you a recommendation to take action next week on the renewal of the partnership agreement between UISD and Communities in Schools. We are making no changes to the partnership. We are including the 15 schools that we have been servicing in the previous years.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information, ma'am. We have item M, first and final reading of revisions to board local policies.
Yes, so we bring to you a few policies in working with our TASB consultant, Amy Kadlachek. She did review our DOI and made a couple of recommendations to some of our policies to make sure that our policies were in line with our District of Innovation plan.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And finally, letter N, request from board members in reference to use of board of trustee discretionary funds for various projects and campuses.
Yes, sir. So we're at the end of the year. There's no additional requests other than what's in your packet, so, and we don't anticipate any more at this point.
All right. Thank you. Item 6, adjournment. Motion to adjourn, Melissa?
Yes,
Yes.
motion. Yes, thank you.
Seconded.